Tonight, an urgent warning for Americans visiting Colombia after a string of deaths in tourist hotspots. The U.S. Embassy in Bogota urging travelers not to use dating apps in the country, writing in a security alert that criminals are using the sites to lure victims, with many U.S. citizens drugged, robbed, and even killed by their Colombian dates. Embassy officials confirming the deaths of at least 8 Americans traveling in Medellin, possibly linked to the apps.
I'm out of words to describe. I don't even know how I feel right now.
A situation all too familiar for the family of 50-year-old Tujer Zhang, an artist and activist from Minnesota who we first reported on last month. He had been traveling in Colombia in December when he called his brother out of the blue asking for money.
This time he was like, hey, do you have a couple of thousand? I was like, yeah, no problem. When do you want it? He said, I want it now. I'm in this bit of a situation here. I go, oh, yeah, I can do that.
Zhang's family telling our Minneapolis affiliate soon after he stopped responding to their messages, he was found dead. A local prosecutor saying Zhang was kidnapped during a date and killed when he could not make the ransom payment, and that his body was found covered in stab wounds.
I was confused. To be honest with you, I don't know why, what the motive is.
Zhang had visited Colombia in the past, posting photos and videos to social media as recently as October with an unidentified woman.
I'm with my girl.
The embassy's alert indicated officials do not believe all 8 of the deaths are linked and said they've seen an increase in reports of incidents involving the use of online dating applications to lure victims, typically foreigners, for robbery by force or using sedatives to drug and rob individuals. Often the reports coming from major Colombian cities like Medellin, Cartagena, and Bogota. Murders of foreign visitors went up by 29% in the latter part of 2023 compared to the previous year, according to the embassy, and most of the victims were U.S. citizens. It's a popular destination for Americans who are big contributors to Colombia's tourism industry, making up nearly 30% of foreign travelers in the first half of last year. But behind that beauty, tragedy and unanswered questions for families like Zhang's, a case where no arrests have been announced, according to that local prosecutor. Loved ones are left to mourn from thousands of miles away.
And he'll draw everybody in. That's the type of people he is.
Okay. With that, Stephen Romo joins us. Stephen, so what kind of advice is the U.S. Embassy giving travelers? Because a lot of people travel to Colombia.
Yeah, a lot of people do, that's for sure. The advice actually applies to pretty much anywhere that you're dating. When you find people online, a lot of it is if you meet a stranger, go to a public place. We hear that time and time again. Also, tell friends and family your plans, where you're going, details about the person, and even what app you used. This one, though, is more crime-oriented. They say don't resist physically if you are being robbed. They say people who do that, they are more likely to be killed. And also, importantly, in pretty much all situations, trust your instincts. If something feels off, just get away. But with all of these advisories and warnings out there, it might be a good idea just to put that phone down, stop swiping while you're visiting Colombia for a little while.
Good advice, Stephen Romo. All right, man, we thank you for that.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.
And when I woke up, I was outside my Airbnb on the ground, on the concrete outside my Airbnb, my phone and my wallet gone, which I just got a new phone yesterday.
The Twin Cities family is working to find answers. This after they say their loved one was kidnapped and killed in Colombia.
The tragedy is also sending shockwaves through the local Hmong community. Our Pauline Lee joins us live in the newsroom with what we know so far. Pauline?
For many American men, the United States simply does not provide the opportunities that it once did. Not financially and not romantically. And many men understand that. In the United States, for a lot of guys, has merely become a place to accrue the American dollar only to spend it someplace else. There are many men of all nationalities who are understanding that, growing into the passport bros philosophy. And this particular brother did just that. He was living in Atlanta, but after living in Atlanta, he decided that he would move to Colombia. And here's his reasoning.
The reason why I moved to Colombia is because I was living in Buckhead and my expenses were very, very high. And I want to really build a business. So I wanted to get rid of my expenses and live lower than my means so I can actually really build a company. So I wanted to have nothing. I didn't want to have things like sneakers. I didn't want to have go out on dates, all of these things where I had this high overhead. I wanted to just downgrade everything so I can put my all focus on my purpose and growing a company. So I'm able to live on the beach for like $1,000 a month, and that's more the reason why I was living in Buckhead and my expenses were so high. So I didn't care about a car. I didn't care about the things that most people care about. I just wanted to get rid of everything and go after building a brand.
Wow. That is incredible.
I want to give a shout out to brother Hassan El Sadiq. If you follow him on TikTok, go and check him out, or YouTube. But let me get back to the situation. This is one of the reasons why a lot of American men want out of the States. They want to build a business. They want to cut down on their expenses. But some other men want to find another opportunity at love, or dating women that are not in the matrix. And that was the case with this particular comedian here. And his name was Tu Jer Shong. He lived in Minnesota, and he had frequently visited Colombia many times. And as you know, it's quite cheap to go to Colombia from America. And he felt comfortable going to the country. Now, while he was there, he met a young lady and they started dating. So much so that he went out and enjoyed himself, and they took pictures together, did a lot of things together. So when he came back in December, he expected to be like clockwork, except for this time, it wasn't. Can I get a dun 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 sound effect? No, this time it was brutal. She lured him into a kidnapping plot. He basically showed up at a location. Some other guys took him. They started calling people on his phone, demanding $2,000 for his release. And once it didn't happen, he got stabbed to death. But stop the show. Rewind, Nima! That's one thing that's happening in Colombia. There are other many things occurring in the country too. And a lot of the times we're seeing something happening where black men or men in general are being drugged by the drug called scopolamine. Here's a brother talking about what happened to him in the situation.
Towards the end of the last day, probably 2 days before I had to leave, I kind of got a little lonely. So I was like, well, let me try to go on Tinder. Don't use Tinder, but let me try to go on Tinder, find me a little nice chick. And before I leave, in the night with that, went on Tinder, found one. She wanted to meet up. We met at it's called La Commercial Plaza. It's like 30 minutes away from the Chippy Choppy Mall in the La Flora district. She stayed like 10 minutes away from there. Ended up waiting for her. She ended up coming. We used Google Translate, of course. We went to a bar. I don't remember the name, in the mall, in the Plaza Mall, right? So we're sitting down. We're using Google Translate. She's just telling me a little bit about her. She's complimenting me, of course. Eyes and, you're a genuine guy, nice and everything, yada, yada, yada. Have a few drinks, have a little bit more, few drinks. We get up, and she ends up taking me to another bar, and this is where it happened. We get to another bar, and when we sit down, and she orders El Jimador, I think that's what it's called. It's a white liquor. Start drinking, and at some point she told me to kiss her, and I think it was at that point when I did, she may have slipped something in my drink, or she could have had the bartender do it. I know they usually do that too, but at some point that's when it happened. So when I took my second shot, I just I felt funny. She then asked, I asked her, actually, I was like, hey, would you like to go back to my Airbnb? Obviously, what was on my mind. And and she was pretty Latina, Afro-Latina. She was like, yeah, show me where you live. I showed her where I live and everything. And I got up, and that's when I kind of didn't feel right. But, I just chalked that up IP to me being drunk. got up a little wobbly, you know, she's helping me a little bit. I get in the car, which I thought was an Uber, but from what my friends were telling me, it probably wasn't an Uber. It was probably just somebody she knew, you know, and got in the back of the car and I peed. When I got in the back of the car, at that point, I don't know what happened. I don't know when I fell asleep. I just did. And when I woke up, I was outside my Airbnb on the ground, on the concrete outside my Airbnb, my phone and my wallet gone, which I just got a new phone yesterday. And on Monday, I'm working on getting all my credit cards back. But she has maxed my credit cards, which I've taken care of that also.
I want to give a shout out to the International Passport YouTube channel for that. And what's happening is with the rise of American men in the Passport Bro community going to Colombia, it has created a new business opportunity for criminal networks. And that is something that is happening a lot. Guys don't understand it. The more you go to Colombia, the more organized crime are targeting you. Women are coming on Tinder. They're luring guys and setting them up, just like this would happen if you had a new McDonald's or a new burger joint. And that will be explained here by the YouTube channel Life with David.
It's a very profitable business. It's a business and it's a very profitable business here in Medellin. Scamming foreign guys, females scamming foreign guys here in Colombia, and Medellin especially. And it's not just females. It's not just the females doing this. These are groups. These are what they call bandillas, right? Local gangs up in the neighborhoods that, these are organized groups that are doing this, sending out the females, finding the females, and when those females like trap those guys, they have one or two guys in the groups waiting for them to help them out if they need help. It's an organized effort, and because they saw that it was successful, because tourism is picking up and a lot of foreigners are coming here, and with a lot of money and a lot of guys coming here because of those certain reasons and going up to those kind of girls, they saw the success, they saw the easy money. So what happens? More people, more groups start copying and start implementing the same strategy, the same scam.
And what I would like to say is deaths are on the rise in Medellin, in Colombia. I hear about them every week now, and my heart goes out to the men that are going out there. I've covered these stories myself. We had one man that was actually killed. He was shot to death in a robbery gone bad in Colombia. Now, this isn't to say that this is happening all the time or every day or everybody is out to get you. But you got to understand this. Whenever you're a foreigner and you're coming into a country that is relatively poor, you do have a target on your back. It's just like when the African Americans started coming back to African countries, the year of return, things like that in Accra, Ghana. Well, guess what? Those people who were scammers and people who were shady sought out to take advantage of the new people coming into the system. And that is exactly what a lot of people did. A lot of land scammers got over, people lost their money, people lost their entire savings because it was a business taking advantage of foreigners. And so what a lot of guys need to understand is everything that glitters isn't gold. And if you're going to Colombia, you need to understand a lot of safety precautions, because if you die there or something happens to you there, there's very little that you can do to get a lot of help. And that's something that is going on in the country. And I would just tell guys to continue to be safe, continue to watch what's happening, continue to participate in communities. I want to give a shout out to the brother Razor Rays. He made a video called "American Was Stabbed by a Woman in Medellin." She climbed down the balcony to escape. And literally you see this woman basically climbing down the balcony, all right, after she has just committed this particular murder, all right? This is exactly what happened. Then she ends up getting arrested. But again, this happens after you pass away. It's too late. So, you know, almost every time I'm hearing about this more often. So guys, what do you think? It's your boy O'Shea Duke Jackson back at it again with another episode of The Celebrity Junk. I really appreciate you for all that you do. Subscribe to the bell. We're out.